I have the opportunity of speaking to a man every one of you wants a picture with. Let's say a big hello and welcome him on stage. Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards. Wonderful. Please. And let's start with a fan moment here. Why don't we start with a fan moment? I'm going to ask you to stand here, please. This is a picture for me. But I'm going to rub it in on the Goafest crowd. There you go, guys. So let's start. All of you, I'm sure, have some time or the other in your life. Please sit. Watch cricket. Have you or have you not? Yeah. And have you seen this man in action? Yeah. Time and again, I have gone back into YouTube, on Facebook, whenever the videos come and talks about West Indies, and you have this man's picture there. All you want to do is go back and see, how did he do it? So let's ask him and start with that. How's the feeling being in Goa? We're going to rock and roll.
Oh, it is a great place to be. Why I think it's such a great place, because I can associate with places that where I think all the tourists like and enjoy. It reminds me so much of home, laid back.
Laid back, you've got the beach, you've got the sun, sand. Do you have one of those cottages which overlooks the beach and you can have you kicked your leg up and watch the seas and say, what's the difference between Goa and Antigua?
What I think is more special is I can associate maybe a few things. The coconut trees.
Now, are you ready to hit across the line?
Always ready.
You know his autobiography is hitting across the line. Let's now understand what he meant when he titled his autobiography, Hitting Across the Line. It's not just donking that ball outside the off stump over mid-wicket. There's much more to it.
Well, to be fair and to answer you as correctly as I can, is that when I first went to England, you had your old colonial masters who were certainly the ones who invented the game itself, felt that coming from the Caribbean, that we had was to be orthodox, and you had was to make sure that you do the correct things, like in terms of the coaching that they would give you in that part of the world. And coming from the Caribbean, I felt growing up hitting the ball, being able to hit the ball on a regular basis, that I wasn't going to let them dictate to me the way they did to my old governors in the past. I had a particular style that I wanted to bring. And I also said to them, and there are times when I can be a little cocky, I use words to this effect that I'm not basically like you guys on a regular basis. I am an artist. And I'm not here to hit fieldsmen. I'm here to hit the gaps. That's what batsmanship is all about. And that's what I did.
Yes, that's what he did, and he did it so brilliantly. A lot of you are stats buffs. You know how many runs he scored in first-class cricket? 36,000 runs in first-class cricket. How many runs in international cricket, test cricket, and one-day cricket put together between 1974 and the time he retired in the 90s? 15,000 runs, tests and ODIs put together. 24 centuries in test cricket, 5 which are not counted, so it would be 29. He is rated as one of the greatest batsmen cricket has ever seen, alongside Sir Donald Bradman and, of course, Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar. But, Sir Viv Richards...
No, before you begin here, there's a guy who always would have set the trend for people like Sachin. And I had an opportunity of playing against him on a regular basis. And he gave us a good pasting at times. His name is the little master, Sonny Gavaskar.
Sonny Gavaskar. You know, the similarity between Sonny Gavaskar and Viv Richards was nothing here, to protect the head. Remember, he wore a floppy hat and had a skull cap, which was no good. And he would wear, you saw the pictures, a red cap or a headband. Now, what was that logic? You never wore a helmet. You never had an elbow guard. You never had chest guards, you know, all those packing and padding which all the cricketers wear with today. I have to say, at the cost of being a little inappropriate, you really had some balls of steel.
I did say to you before, I was a little cocky. But to answer your question, I've always felt that when you're given a test cap, you should wear it. You know, that's the ultimate goal. You want to represent your country. And that's the privilege that I think any young individual who wants to take up the game or who would be representing their countries, that's the thing that I think you admire more than anything else. And as I said to you before, my head was a little bit too big for that helmet.
But it's not easy. Viv, you have to, on a serious note, it's not easy to play the likes of Willis, Lilly, Hadley, Imran Khan, Wasim Akram, so many others. The best bowling attack, fastest on some of the most unfriendliest pitches, hostile conditions, and you've got the ball whizzing past. Everybody is running for cover, and you're there, standing there, and come hit me.
Well, that's the target. It's up to you to hit it. You know, but to be fair, I've always felt that I was rather privileged and I was in a much better place than, take for instance, the other sports which I would enjoy, maybe Formula One racing. You have also the 500 cc motor stuff, and that to me is daredevil stuff. So a game of cricket, that was soft stuff in my opinion. Very soft, you know. So I took the chance, and as I said to you before, you know, that my cap, that was my protector, the Almighty Father, who did take care of me as well. Because sometimes when you are brave and you have that sort of understanding that he who dares win, someone will take care of you.
Yeah. See, he dared, and that's what got him the results. But was there a time when you thought, am I being foolish? Am I being stupid? Or just by being cocky, you know?
No,
Did you ever have doubts about the fact, especially when you were captain, when your role got enhanced, your responsibility was there to spend time out in the middle?
The most
Did you
important
ever
thing
think about
is not for you to think about it. If you do too much thinking about it, you won't get it done. And it's all about being instinctive. I've always said as well, too, that you've got to watch the ball. If you can watch the ball as well as you can, everything else is okay. You know, it is a great place to be. You know, a guy from 22 yards throwing it down. There's lots of much more dangerous activities in the world today than a game of cricket. To me, where we grew up in the Caribbean, it was all about fun, having fun, and I just took it to another level.
So tonking a ball coming at you at 140 clicks was just fun. So that's the way he approached life, and perhaps all of us can take a pinch of leaf or a lesson out of that and say, let's not look at how difficult it is. Let's look at it, say, compared to other things, this is easier. Perhaps that's what he was doing.
Let's not forget Sonny Goafest, that little guy. He scored 14 centuries against the West Indies, the most fearsome attack then. And just before you do your stuff, let's also say that he pretended that he was wearing somewhat of a helmet, that little skull cap. That couldn't have protected him from anything. So it was just all show, in my opinion. But when you have a little guy like that who can accomplish his stuff as well, too. So it's not just myself alone.
The difference is you faced all those bowlers at the nets. So the others were not fearsome enough. For Sonny, he faced them out in the middle, and he just decided, okay, let it go. Let it go.
Much better than that.
Yeah, of course he was. And he could afford to let it go because he knew which ones to let go and which ones to
when you're that
play.
height as well, the bunkers that our guys bowl or deliver, it's not going to be that effective. There's not much ducking for him to do.
Not much ducking for him to do. But let's come back to what happens on field. Did you ever try and unsettle Sonny Gavaskar? Because you knew you wanted guys to come at you. You've said this in the past, that you liked it when people got into your face, bowlers staring down at you, because you said, all right, now I'm going to hit the cherry out. But how was Sonny Gavaskar? What was your, would you speak to him? Would there be some
We wouldn't
chatter
say anything to him. He was too cool. He was too cool for that, you know. There isn't anything coming back, and I guess one of his spiritual guide us at that particular time would have been the side barber. So I guess he did put his faith and trust in that individual.
Right. Now, the other aspect. When we talk about West Indies, it's a collection of countries. Imagine India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all of them put together into a dressing room and said only 11 of you, randomly picked, will play for this entire subcontinent. That was the situation with West Indies cricket, with Caribbean cricket. That's why you were called Calypso cricket. You guys knew how to have fun, but you never came across as somebody who could be world beaters. What happened? That was just around the time, 74, when you got into the dressing room, wasn't it? When you were from Antigua and Barbuda, you have people from Trinidad and Tobago, you had players from Jamaica, across the board. So it was like a bunch of people from different countries asked to play together as a unit. How tough or easy was it?
That was pretty tough because we had some of the guys from the bigger islands like Trinidad and Tobago. I guess because they think they were economically blessed with having oil, that they felt that they were richer than everyone else, that they could say exactly what they like. I came from a very small island itself, which prides itself on tourism. And there was sometimes at times, that inferior complex. And one's got to thank Clive Lloyd because he brought us together. And we always felt that we had a great opportunity with the ability that we had in the team at the time, that you need someone who could lead the ship. This isn't a game where of a particular individual who is involved, who can make his own decisions and do exactly what he or she likes. But when you have a team, what I think we learned pretty early with the ability that we had, it was important that we all sang from the same hymn sheet.
That was critical. So they all sang from the same hymn sheet, irrespective of where they came from, and that perhaps brought them together. But how critical was Clive Lloyd and his influence as a leader? And did you learn about leadership from him as to how to lead a unit which is so heterogeneous?
I did a lot because he set the sort of precedent at the time, and I had an opportunity when I became captain to make sure that the things that we learned from him that you could instill in the individuals who I wanted to manage and lead as well. So it's always nice to have someone, a mentor. I didn't really want to do the things. Maybe in my batting style, I was able to do things which folks would tell me and I would totally ignore. But as captain, we had a roadmap on exactly what we wanted to accomplish. And I just basically try and continue that. That's what I think leadership is all about. What you would have learned, you can help to pass on to the individuals that you are about to lead.
What was that period when you were test captain? How many test series did you lose?
None, actually.
Period of 15 years. That was the golden era of West Indian cricket. They never lost a test series. They lost test matches but never lost a test series. But many think, is that being fair to Sir Vivian Richards when they say, Clive Lloyd did all the groundwork. He had a well-knit unit and all you had to do is go out, call the toss, and get them to play? Or were there instances where you, as a leader, were tested?
Yeah, you were tested on numerous occasions. But at the end of the day, I guess you had individuals as well who would test your leadership, and especially some of the guys from the big islands, because I came from a much smaller island, and they felt that you had us to be from this huge environment in order for you to be successful. And it's not necessarily so. And I wanted to prove to them that the same sort of leadership and style which Clive brought to our success, that I was only going to follow that particular pattern. And it's amazing. At first, they gave me a rough time. There were some who felt that I shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day...
We want to know. Can you share some?
Oh, we had one particular guy who's from Trinidad and Tobago, and his name was Brian Lara.
So what about Brian Lara?
Well, to be honest, I'll just give you a little insight. In Trinidad, he's the king. No, you can't say a bad word about Brian. When he first came into the dressing room as a player, he wasn't guaranteed whether he was going to play or not, but his ability and talent got him into the team. And funny enough, in Trinidad, he will get away with anything playing for Trinidad and Tobago. This would have been in the West Indies team now we were taking it to another level. And apparently, he came in and put his gear in the captain's place.
So who was the captain at that time?
I think it happened to be a guy by the name of Vivian at the time.
Oh, Vivian Richards. Okay. So then what happened?
His bag, I think, accidentally went through the door. So he had us to learn the hard way. And this was it all about. Today, I would never ever dare do that because of his accomplishment. When he came into the team, he was a rookie. He met guys who already would have been accomplished. And I just felt that I had us to lead the way and let him know what we stood for. And you can see what he achieved after that.
Now, since we're talking about instances, there is one famous instance that's documented about Viv Richards. All of us must have read about it. When he asked somebody to go and fetch the red cherry. So my question to Viv is, what happened to those 4 balls that you missed?
Well, just before we get to those 4 balls, I had a bad night out. Those days, curfews wasn't in play.
Did we have Goafest at that time?
Okay. Guys could have done anything they want. Actually, I was playing for my team, Somerset, at the time.
Okay.
And I had a bad night with Ian Botham, who is my best friend. And anyone who knows Ian Botham, he enjoys a drink or two, and the count could go on.
Yeah, exponentially.
So we had a huge night, and I'm feeling really ill. And I'm saying there's no way I'll be able to actually make it to the field the next day. But funny enough, because I knew Ian would know himself exactly what we had accomplished that night, that I made sure that I had us to be out there. And I staggered out there. I got to the ground, and on the physio's table, and I'm hoping that we would have won the toss. If we did, our captain would bat. Finally, he did so. And I'm there. Our 2 openers went in. 1 got out rather quickly. I'm number 3 in. I had my wake-up call. Someone came in, tapped on the door. Viv, it's your turn. I actually fell off the table. And on my way, I took my bat up at the time, and my bat was my guide. I was really struggling. Got to the crease. Funny enough, I'm a guy who comes from the sunshine, like a sunshine state. All of a sudden, it's like I'm in a new environment. This place, it is so hot, the sun is shining, and I staggered out, got to the crease, decided I would take my guard from the umpire. Took me 5 minutes to do so. Finally got it. Mr. Thomas, at the time, who was the bowler, ran in. The first 4 deliveries, if he had bowled them a little straighter, I'd be done. But they were wide of the off stump, and I didn't see a thing. Maybe because I didn't see a thing, he decided the 5th delivery is going to go a little straighter. And by this time, wow, he looked around and he said words to this effect, "Hey, Viv, man, you know what color it is? It's red. It's round, it's 5 and whatever ounces. And if you're a competitor, that's the sort of stuff that you need in order for you to...
Wake you up, you know?
Oh, that's your wake-up call. And apparently, that next delivery, a little straighter, I closed my eyes.
So you hit that shot with your eyes closed?
With my eyes closed. Swung to the line, and I just heard the big sound. And I knew from the moment where it hit, you hear them speak about the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And this thing took off like a plane, man.
It did. And where did it land?
Anyone who knows the Taunton cricket ground itself where we play, there's a little river that runs to the back.
Yes.
There are 2 guys, actually, having a little casual fishing in that dinghy. It fell in that dinghy. It almost knocked them over. Folks on the stands now was looking over to the river and asking the guys, "Can we have our ball back?" And this guy came back with some foul language. And he used words like, "You can effing whatever. You guys can cheese off."
Yeah.
This is the first catch we'd have had all day.
But
The-
you said something to Tomsy. What happened there?
Well, to be fair, I just remember, and, you know, when you would have had the better now of the guys who would have just given you that sort of a small talk, he doesn't want to look you in the eyes anymore. He's walking back to his mark, and as confrontational as I can be at times, I wanted him to remember what he said before. So I casually followed him back to his mark, and I shouted out and said, "Hey, Greg, man, seeing you know what color, shape, and size, go help them find it."
Yes.
Funny enough, it's amazing how sober a guy can get after that. I ended up scoring the fastest century that season in 30-odd balls.
Yes.
So
Now,
you see certain things on telly that tells you, do not try this. I'm not telling you that you can go and accomplish that. For you young folks, it's not something that you should do on a regular basis.
but you talked about Brian Charles Lara and how he tried and how he had his kit out of the window. But there is an anecdote about Brian Lara about how he scored those 400 runs. Remember the county game?
Yeah.
It was a similar story like yours. Well, I'm told he slept in the parking lot.
I think maybe not for the first time.
But this is banter. This is something which happens on the field, which is allowed. But when was it the first time when you thought that the opponent crossed the line? The opponent took it perhaps a tad too far, got to your color, got to your origins?
There are certain things that that is acceptable, and I've always felt that when, you know, if you cross the line, you can say things like or get into someone's ears about maybe their race, religion, and all that sort of stuff. And I've always felt as sportsmen and women, we do not need to enter into that particular zone. That is something that I felt if you do that, you're crossing the line. We have a much higher obligation to pay or to give, rather than to get where you believe that someone's sport is much bigger than that. And we, as sportsmen and women, we got to set
I'm
the
sure
trend.
you encountered it quite a lot.
You know, but
When did it happen with
but funny enough, you guys just happen to have played against these guys recently here in Australia, and my little man took care of them, Virat.
you? Yes.
You know, gave them as much as they got. Give. The Aussies can be very, very rude, and I have no regrets or feel in any particular way saying this. There are times, sometimes they overstep their boundaries, and one of the things that that hurts me more than anything else, especially the introduction of the IPL. A lot of these guys are coming to this part of the world to earn a living. And if it's one advice I'll give to those guys, never try and curse the hand that helps to feed you.
Now, let's try and get back. I totally agree with you. Do you believe that there should be red card? You played a lot of football in your early days. Many thought you even represented Antigua and turned out for them. There's a huge question mark about that. So you've done a lot with your foot too. So as much as you've done with the bat. But do you think you should bring out red cards and the umpires should have the power today to say, out, I don't want you here on the field. You're a disgrace to this game.
It depends what's been said. And as I just mentioned, if you cross the line where the racist factor comes into play, we see in football itself where anyone, especially some spectators around the world, would get nasty with certain racist comments and things like that. If you get into that zone, I think the ICC, in my opinion, who have been one of the weakest organizations that I've encountered, if they know exactly what's their principles also, their principles of non-tolerance where racism and things like that's concerned, there, there should be zero tolerance. So if there shouldn't even be a yellow, in my opinion, should be straight red.
It should be straight red, so no yellows.
But nothing is wrong
Yeah.
with the aggro. We have all seen it. It's not the last.
So if an Ishant Sharma makes animated faces at Steve Smith, that's okay.
And that's funny stuff, in my opinion. He should have been a comedian. You know, or could be the minister of funny faces.
Minister of funny faces. But when we talk about red card, let's also come out to the other issue of integrity. I think one of the first things as a leader you need to have is integrity. And I'm trying to mix the past with the present, ladies and gentlemen here. This man here had a blank check in front of him. When he went for the apartheid test, he went to South Africa. All he needed to do was sign the line, and he could name the price. But Vivian Richards did not do it. How long did it take for you to make that decision? And what is the fallout or the consequence of that decision? Please tell us.
Well, there isn't any falling out. I had no regrets up to this day. I still feel as strong as possible with the decision that I made then.
Did you lose sleep over it, or you knew it in an instant that you're not going to do it?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Did you lose sleep over it? That means, should I, shouldn't I? And you know, did you think about, all right, let's just almost do it, and then suddenly something told you, I'm not
There wasn't any second thoughts.
Okay, no second thoughts.
I've always felt if it's one thing that I know I brought to the table were certain principles. And that to me was pretty huge on the list, could be number one. Because regardless of whatever you may give at that time, and I felt what was going on in South Africa, where my brothers and sisters were certainly wasn't given an opportunity for them to be part of that whole fabric of building South Africa. And when you're going to offer all that money to me at that time, to me, it was for a particular reason, and it wasn't for the right reasons.
Okay.
And up to this day, as you spoke about maybe, did I have any second thoughts? There wasn't any. There's a lot of times, if we do have certain principles, our principles can sometimes override money or dollars and cents. And to me, that was one of the greatest decisions, you know, that I would have made in life. Decision that I felt rather proud of. Because why? You would have had other members of the West Indies team waiting in the wings to see whether their captain would have signed or not. If I would have signed, we would have had the nucleus of West Indies team in South Africa. And it would have dismantled that great team which we had, and certainly put a dent in what we wanted to achieve. And I was rather proud in a big way. Folks would say things like, I've seen you play such and such an innings. That's great. I saw you at Lords, you did this. I saw you at the MCG, you did that. To me, that was secondary. What I think was the most important thing, and the best innings that I would have played, wasn't to put pen to paper.
We have to understand how significant it is. It is significant at a time when all of us look at a certain performance in an over or in a match, the way the turn of result happens, कि यहाँ कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, ये fix तो नहीं है. Did he deliberately bowl that no ball? How is it that he leaked 13 runs in this over when the previous over was a maiden? Now, this is the time when you're all doubting the integrity of players. You've also mentored at the Pakistan Super League recently, 2016, 2017, he was the mentor. We've had superstars, players who play for the Pakistan national team, being pulled up by the Pakistan Cricket Board for spot fixing. How do you define integrity in cricket? And especially today, compared to the times when you played, there's so much more money. Everybody is earning so much more, just by purely playing as a professional.
There's a whole lot of money in the game that I think with some of the salaries today, that individuals who dare go into that particular zone of what you mentioned, the spot fixing factor, becoming corrupt because there's some bookie who would have wanted them to do this or do that. If caught, there should be zero tolerance, in my opinion. There's no way, especially with this, that's greed, in my opinion, if an individual enter into that particular zone. So I would always say that You may say in the American penal system that 3 strikes and you're out, but how many chances can you give an individual for him to muck up? You must set certain examples. And if we need this game to be cleaned up and cleaned up the way it should, we've got to have 0 tolerance, and I honestly believe that.
So 0 tolerance to fixers. It's very strong coming from somebody like you, because I also want to ask you to dwell a little upon what is the focus for players today. Is the focus excellence or filling or money today? You have across, when you've been talking to various sections of the media, you've hailed innovations in cricket, you've hailed T20 cricket, because you're saying it's putting bums on seats, it's bringing people to watch the cricket. But it is also making people choose money over the sport, the game. Am I right or wrong?
You're so correct. I've always felt that if you're going to make money, regardless of whatever you're doing in life, whether it's business, you've got to, first of all, enjoy what you're doing. Have a passion for what you're doing. Love what you're doing. And then after that, I believe if you put all these things in its right perspective, all the other trimmings will come later. So if you're thinking about that, love what you're doing, appreciate what you're doing, then all the good stuff will come. And this is what I believe in a very big way. If you put the cart before the horse, certainly you're not going to get much movement.
You're not going But did you ever get approached by a bookie? Did you ever get approached by a bookie? Did somebody ever ask you to fix a match?
Maybe because I was such a fierce guy, and the way I did look at times, it did deter some of these guys from approaching me, because I had a serious passion for my country. I had a serious passion for what we were doing. And now, maybe my looks at times would just scare them away.
Well, we're glad they did, and we hope those looks from other players also scare people away from, diluting what is supposed to be the spirit of cricket. Because I do see it as a media person, when we turn out and question, it hurts me. When we question, say, what's happening in cricket? Is this match valid? Did he fix? Why was that towel out, and why did the towel go back in? We talk about these stories, but we're not happy doing it. And I'm sure you as cricket buffs are not happy that you have to have the seed of doubt sown in, saying what's going to be is this result already predetermined? Because it takes away from the effort of that player out there in the middle. But coming to the current scenario, who according to you is close to a reflection of Vivian Richards on the field? After you
hardly ever find anyone or 2 people is going to be exactly the same.
No, they'll never be.
But I'll give you my
close reflection.
I'll give you my personal opinion of the individuals that I admire. Virat.
Why? What's similar between you and Virat?
He leads from the front, and he defends his players as every captain should. We just saw that recently.
Yes.
And that, to me, I'm a huge admirer for these particular reasons. He's not a guy who as physically blessed as some of these other guys that he would have competed against. You may say that he's just above midget height. Not that tall to begin with, really. But there's a serious passion inside. There is that energy that tells me that he has no fear. And that's what I think I brought into the game as well.
Yeah.
And seeing him today is just a magnificent sort of sight. Seeing a guy who would confront guys who can be nasty, say nasty things. And because it isn't now about the physical side of things and what you can do or what you're going to do to me. But at the end of the day, because of the competition factor, being able to do all these things and to be successful, that to me is a remarkable sort of environment to be in. Even though he's blessed with magnificent skill and the talent that he brings to the table, there's one thing that I know for sure, that I know he brings more than anything else, is that will to fulfill that skill. And when you have such a magnificent combination, that is why I think he's so successful and why I guess India loves him so much.
Well, you can't dispute that. You can't dispute that. But who else beyond Virat Kohli? Anybody else who strikes to your mind and you say, I wish I could play cricket with him or against him?
Chris Gayle. He's cool, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He is.
It's a pity that he does have some back issues, and we cannot quite see the best of him, but he's a cool character, and you know why he's cool.
Yeah.
He's from that part of the world that breeds cool people.
Yeah. He's from that part of the world who naturally have a swagger.
Oh man, he's the only problem that I guess he does have, especially when you're from the same country as Usain Bolt, you should be moving a little faster than that.
Well, he decides to send the cherry out faster. That's perhaps what Chris Gayle likes to do. But when you watch IPL, you've also mentored some of the IPL teams. You've spoken on it, and you've watched the grounds. You think if you were given a cricket bat, you would go out and you could also score a few?
I did some articles the other day in connection with some of the boundaries.
Yes.
I guess at my age, I'll be able to clear.
Clear those boundaries.
Yeah, because they are Mickey Mouse boundaries, in my opinion. And we must give each and every individual who participate an opportunity for them to be successful. And I guess there's a lot of us want to see the balls flying out of the ground and all that stuff. Someone asked me the question the other day, do you think the bats, they are too big? I would say no. Modern technology gives us an opportunity to see what we can achieve with the bats today. The guys, for that matter, they're stronger. They're spending much more time in the gym. So the physical things do come into play. It's an easy solution to that particular answer, why the bats are so big. Just extend the boundaries.
But bigger boundaries don't make for exciting cricket because the
No,
advertiser...
we're not worrying about the excitement now. We are worrying about what's fair and what's not. You know, what's fair and what's not. And I just believe that everyone who participates must be given an opportunity for it to be, as you just mentioned, very fair.
Very fair.
And I just think that 65 yards boundaries, 60 yards boundaries, I could make a comeback.
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps that's the reason why they're flirting with the idea of 65-yard boundaries, so they could just get Vivian Richards, get those pads back on, and maybe just hit one or two across the line.
I know I will be able to clear at least maybe once or twice.
Now, the other aspect, I know we will take some questions from you in about 5 minutes from now, but I have 2-3 important issues to talk about. In terms of DRS, in terms of technology in cricket, do you think it's good or you think it's bad? Should we just leave it to the umpires?
I think it's good. It gives each and everyone an opportunity to, as you spoke about that fairness a little earlier, for everyone to compete. And if you're out, you go to the DRS. And I think India did suffer at some point before they really got involved. And now that...
This is coming from a man who refused to leave the crease because he felt he was given out unfairly. That happened with you, didn't you?
No, that happened. That happened.
That happened.
When I was a rebel. I was
Didn't
in the
play
rebel
cricket
zone.
for 2 years.
Banned for 2 years.
Banned for
but
2
the amazing thing about that, I learned a hell of a lot from that. I went out for my first match when I was 16 years of age, and everyone was really pumping me up and speaking about this new guy on the block and what he's going to achieve and all that. And I walked out for my first match to a full recreation ground. First ball I received hit me on the pads. When I played forward, the guy at bat pad took the catch, and everyone appealed. And when you see an umpire appealing as well, you know you're done. I got in for my first match, got out for a duck. The opportunity came. everyone starts to protest that I wasn't out, and it incited the crowd at the times, and they started to set the stands on fire. Can you imagine you're playing in a stadium, and all of a sudden you're giving out your very first match. You're saying all these things in your mind that, look what I've started. I've created a riot. The umpire had us to run for his life.
Yes.
Back in the pavilion, and I'm sitting there. And the guys came in and said, in order for us to restore play, Viv, what can we do? And one guy mentioned, we'd let you bat again. Funny enough, that came rather quickly. I was out for another duck. I'm looking forward to my real second innings now. And that came rather quickly as well, out for another duck. So you may say that I've held a unique distinction of scoring 3 ducks in one match.
3 ducks in one match. So that's another piece of trivia that you can take along with you today. But one more aspect. These days you have cameras, so players can't even dig their nose out in the middle because the camera will catch you. They can't even look at who's checking you out and who's flashing their numbers from the stands because the cameras will catch you.
You cannot afford to look at the guys in the dressing room
and ask whether...
And ask them, wait, do you think I'm out? I even saw that myself. Steve Smith, you naughty guy.
So, can they blame it on brain fade? Can they blame these moments on brain fade?
No, you just call that cheating. Plain cheating. We're not going to beat around the bush here now. Plain cheating.
The other aspect, some of your best friends are Englishmen. Ian Botham is one of your best friends, we know that. You're also godfather to his child. But some of the worst slur or abuse that you faced, or even insults that you got, were from Englishmen. There was also the series where even before, after the beating with the Aussies, where you lost the series, and then you were about to tour England, a certain very popular commentator now, who went on to become a darling of the masses because of his voice, at that time said, we will make them grovel. You remember that?
Oh, that happened to be the late Tony Gregg. Great communicator, not much skill as a cricketer.
Did these spur you on? Did you hold these issues? I'm coming back to that because there's a lot behind the swagger. There's a lot behind these 15,000 runs. There's a lot behind these 36,000 runs. There's a lot because I believe you don't think overnight that I'm not going to wear a helmet. You don't think overnight that I'm not going to care for correctness. There is a reason why. Did you hold all of this somewhere in your heart and use that to, fuel that desire? You spoke about it a bit in Fire in Babylon.
Funny enough, it was the ITV News. It had breaking news, and Tony Gregg, as a South African, obviously playing for England, captain of England, and he did use some stuff. We're going to make these guys grovel, or when they're down, they're not as good as they should be. I do not see anyone when they're down whether you're going to be good. When you're down, you're just down. When you're up, you're just up. Oh. And he seemed to took it to another level. And we were walking into our team meeting room that same night. And as we walked in, wow, breaking news, ITV. And there we watched Tony Gregg. And everyone from the team itself is watching the telly. And we're listening to Tony Gregg. And when he's finished, everyone was just stunned in silence. And one of the guys asked and said, Skip, what time the meeting is going to be started? And Clive looked and said, the meeting is over. We have just had our meeting. We saw exactly, and you knew what took place after that.
Yes.
We gave him a good hiding. Very good.
Very good is an understatement.
Good hiding. But what I think we must give Tony credit for, at the end of the last match at the Oval, he got down on his knees and he did some groveling himself.
I have to applaud that because Wake up, people. These are all pearls of history, and this is what goes on when people tell you you can't do it. People tell you you're out. People tell you you're good for nothing. People tell you this is wrong. You are wrong. And then you have to have that belief in you to say, I'm right. There's something right that I'm doing, something right that we are doing. So that is something which he has been able to do. Where did you get that belief? Where did you get it? Who gave it to you?
Well, especially when you are competing, you do need something solid to look back at. And I remember my dad was my huge inspiration. And he loved his cricket himself, and maybe because he's from the small islands, never really got the opportunity for him to play and represent his country the way he should. That he've always said that regardless of all the ability and talent you have, Viv, you must remember one thing. You must believe. And we spoke about earlier the skill, the talent that you bring, but at the end of the day, you need something to push that skill. Never give up on your will. There's a lot of times folks will say things, you cannot accomplish this. But if you believe, we have seen a lot of guys who have been told that, or for the females who have been in, whether you are in the office or not, you cannot accomplish this. But if you believe seriously, never give up on your will, because that will at some point will help you to push that skill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we all go through this, don't we? We all go through this period of self-doubt. We might be doing very well, but we think, oh, so are we not good enough? Or the chips might be down and you think, you start questioning your own belief, your own ability. And he is one of those people who in life, at no point did he lose the swagger. He got out on zero, he had the same swagger. He walked the same way. He made 189, the best ODI innings ever that's been rated, and he still had the same swagger. Tell us about, now, I remember this one, the 10th wicket partnership. What did you say? What did you tell Michael Holding? Did you ever think that Michael Holding will be there on the other side?
To believe.
Okay.
And by believing, I can remember.
Take us through some of those.
I can remember we were really struggling, and the Englishmen at the time on the field felt that they already had won the match. And I just said to Mikey, you just need to hold that end up. If you do, I'll accomplish the rest. And Michael Holding, I think we had a partnership of over 100 runs.
106 runs.
106.
For the 10th wicket.
Michael's contribution was, Michael's contribution was 11.
11.
If I'm correct. So he did believe.
Yes, he did believe. And his contribution was not 11 runs. His contribution was he held the other end up. I think that was Michael Holding's contribution, because had he gotten out, we wouldn't have seen you score that well.
It is. So that's where I think partnerships is so important. Whether it's in business, whether it's in sport, so long as you trust one another and you believe that you have the same goals, you will certainly accomplish a lot.
Well, now you talked about the Aussies and how they cheat and how they sledge. My final question before we wind up. You have to hear this out. But they also gave you a standing ovation.
Oh, that was a match we played in Gloucester Park during the World Series games itself. And when you accomplish 100 against Australia, it is always the best feeling on earth, because you have gone into Australia's backyard and you have given it to them. And I'm there celebrating, I'm jumping for joy and making the sign of the cross because I'm a Christian. And today we see some guys who would kiss the earth, the pitch which they would have just accomplished.
Yes.
Well, I'm jumping for joy and I'm doing the things that is so necessary because of the feeling. My partner at the other end said to me, "Smokey, have a look." And I'm not worried about him. The cheers went on, and I'm saying they're all cheering for Viv's 100. He said, "Smokey, have a look." So I decided that let me look around and see what was taking place. And what I saw hurtling towards me, this wonderful creature dressed in her birthday suit.
So that's what got the
And I'll tell you something.
That's what
The
gave-
first thing that comes to mind, I'm saying, this is not cricket. What I knew for sure, that she was one of the most polite Australians I would come across.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. No, the story doesn't finish there.
Oh, okay.
She held one half of her Arnold Schwarzenegger and said, Mr. Richards, would you mind signing this for me, please?
So did you sign it? Or?
I'm telling you, you know when we sign signatures at times, we sometimes hardly recognize what we sign. Well, for the very first time in my signing career, I dotted my I's.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vivian Richards. Fantastic.
Wow, wow.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. And this is not like the Australian woman, but this is my research sheet on Vivian Richards, and I'm going to request him to please sign it for me, sir. I'm going to treasure this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the standing ovations never stop when it's Sir Vivian Richards.
Thank you so much.
Anand
It's a pleasure. Wonderful.
and
Thank you.
Sir Vivian Richards, you know what? We've got that 25,000 rupees to give away to one of the best questions. And well, we've got 10 here. So Anand, I'm going to request you to choose any 3 questions, ask them
Right.
to Sir Vivian Richards. And well, the best question that Sir you choose out of these will walk away with 25,000 rupees from
Where-
Yes Bank.
where
We've
there
got
are
10 questions out there.
Yeah, there are 10 questions, 3 questions I'll pick. There are a few from the Times group, even though I thanks Times Now and the Times Network for giving me this opportunity. Guys, I'm not going to call you out first. I've got to be impartial here. So I'm going to go with one of the advertising guys. This is Abhinay Basin, Denso Aegis Network. And he said, cricket, like advertising, has its ups and downs. What was the most challenging moment in your life, and what kept you going to overcome that and become what you are?
One of the most challenging challenge, first of all, would have been coming from one of the smaller islands. And the way we used to think in the Caribbean of this insular factor, because another island may be bigger, trying to work your way into that particular environment. And if you're talented enough, you're good enough, and you would have heard me mention earlier that I honestly believe that I had belonged there. So that's why sometimes if we feel it, we walk it. You know, and I felt pretty strong in my will, the things I wanted to achieve. And because of those particular reasons, I was able to win those same guys who had doubts over. And that was a huge, huge challenge.
That was fantastic. I was just thinking, Viv, you're not chewing gum now. You used to chew gum, remember? Did you always think, what's so special about that gum that he chewed? What brand was it?
Wrigley's, anything I got my, my mouth on. But the amazing thing as well, too, my agent then wasn't as aggressive at the agents as you have today. You know, with all that chewing gum that I did, I never had a sponsor.
All right. Now, Rich Tota, Dempe.com has put this question, which I could not ask you. Good, it's come from the audience. We left some for them. What do you feel about the West Indian Cricket Board not allowing Chris Gayle to be a part of the test and some one-day matches? Why are they wasting talent?
When you have a cricket board, in my opinion, you know, who have been totally arrogant, totally dictatorial in their policies, and this is why people like Dwayne Bravo, who I've always felt is a magnificent all-rounder, Chris Gayle, the talent that he had, these guys decided, look, I'm going to opt out of playing for my countries and come to the big bashes, the IPLs and all that sort of stuff because of that particular reason. And during some of the talks which I would have had around the years, I've always said that because of our establishment at present, anyone in here knows of anyone who could be a hitman? this is what I think. We need some guys who can get rid of these folks. It may sound harsh, but until we replace these guys, and because of the fact that they're all in love with one another at the establishment level, West Indies cricket continue to suffer.
Yes, and it's been
Yeah.
more than a decade, about
Yeah.
15 years now
Yeah.
that you've had this problem.
It's for years, you keep hearing about we're going to make a comeback some point. And as the years go by, it becomes worse. So I'm just hoping at some point, maybe we can have a little chat after. Anyone who knows of any hitmen, we can go and get a job done.
If you do, you know who to get in touch with. You'll get your selfie and the autograph. Well, my final question, the third question. Okay, Ravi Shankar, Bennett, Coleman, and company. So our group. So I'm being, out of 3, 1 goes to our group. Is T20 the right format of cricket in your opinion? Which format do you find the best?
I've always felt that Test match cricket is the ultimate goal in terms of if you want to define a cricketer. But having said that, T20 have given that sort of cricket a lifeline. And to be fair, what I think T20 would have created, it would have created an excitement, the entertainment, not just maybe for the cricket-loving fan, but it also brings about a family environment. The kids can come to the game and have a great day or night out, and that to me is huge. And if we can find a way or some solution in trying to have the two in a happy marriage, and I hope that the ICC starts doing some governing.
So should they do away with ODIs then?
No, not at all. ODIs is just as good. We have all formats of the game, and let us maintain that. One's got to remember as well also that we ain't have a huge cricketing family. It's not as like the soccer world. Cricket is only limited countries that would have played. So we've got to keep all these formats going, and hopefully as well, with the new, I think it's the president coming from your part of the world, who says that each and every one should be given an equal share. That to me would help to enhance all the countries, you know, or the have-nots. But I hope that someone, if you're going to do that, and you're going to give money to this present establishment in the West Indies, that we monitor them on a regular basis to see what they're doing with the money.
Get them the money that they deserve and throw those guys who are wasting it away. Vivian Richards, way over time, so fantastic.
Thank you very much, sir.
Big round of applause for him, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to request Mr. Bhasin to kindly present a token of appreciation. Thank you, Anand. Thank you very much for taking us through such a beautiful journey. Mr. Bhasin, I'm going to request you to kindly present a token of appreciation to Mr. Viv Richards. But sir, have you decided who walks away with 25,000 rupees thanks to Yes Bank? Which was your favorite question?
Out of the 3 questions,
Out
which
of the
did you like
3
the best?
questions.
The very first question.
Oh,
Obstacles, the toughest obstacles. I think that came from...
someone took away my iPad.
Yeah, I think that question was... I called out the name. I know
Here
your
you
question,
go.
the obstacle
Yes.
question, yeah.
Let's bring on the big check. Let's
Abhinay
bring on
Bhasin.
the winner.
Abhinay Bhasin.
This Abhinay Bhasin always ends up with the 25,000 every
Dentsu
single year
Aegis
at the
Network,
Goafest.
Abhinay
Huh?
Bhasin.
Where's Abhinay?
Make your way up, please.
Well,
Oh, there he
Mr.
is.
Richards, I'd like to... Oh, by the way, this has happened for the second time. It's my second year at the Goafest. Abhinay is Mr. Bhasin's son. And this is not rigged. And this happens every time. As you know, it was not us. It was Mr. Richards who chose this question. And it's happened second year that the father is on stage when the son receives 25,000 rupees. He's always been 25,000 rupees richer. Thank
Well-
you, Yes Bank, for making this possible.
This is one decision you don't need a
Yeah, you
DRS
don't.
for.
Yeah, you don't. Right? Well, you're going to be spending it on this time, young lad. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Congratulations. May we please have the memento for Sir Vivian Richards, please. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to give us another uproar? It's been fun, it's been enlightening, it's been exciting. It's been fabulous. Mr. Bhasin, this conversation would be incomplete without Anand on stage. Anand, thank you so much for
Thanks,
taking
Ashwini.
us through such a beautiful
Oh,
journey.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Would it be fair for me to step into a picture, please? Everybody, smile. Thank you, sirs. Thank you very, very much.